Is it really okay for your partner to have close friends of the opposite sex? And when it comes to finance, should the couples or should the relationship really be 50-50? So today we're diving into this relationship or topic that can make or break the modern love. So let's get into it. Hey there, welcome to my channel, Love and Connection, where we discuss all things self love and relationship and success. I'm actually a matchmaker, and if you're looking for a long lasting relationship, please click on the link on my bio. So, if you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button because we've got a lot of powerful conversation here on this channel. So, today we're talking about two hot topics that comes up all the time. And one question is, can your partner have friends of the opposite sex? And the second question is, do you believe in 50-50 financial split in the relationship? We're only talking about finance here. So grab your tea, have my water, and let's get into it. Mm. So, all right, let's kick things off with the first questions. Can your partner have friends of the opposite sex? This is a topic that have been debated forever. I think there are some interesting perspectives to consider though when we come across this question. So let us look at trust and boundaries, which is the foundation of every relationship. So when we talk about relationship, one thing comes up over and over again, and which is trust. If trust is solid, should it matter if your partner have a close friend with someone of the opposite sex? Does it even really matter? I know people will say they're completely fine. It's because they trust their partner 100%. Where others would think it's a recipe for disaster. It often comes down to personal boundaries, and there is no one size fits all approach. So, what I'm saying is, personal boundaries differs for different relationships. So for some people, it could be that, they want to be involved with this, friend. So let's say they want to, they have to hang out. They have to hang out as a group. Or it could be that you do not want your partner to talk to this person at a certain time of the day. Maybe you could say, when it's after 8 or 6 p.m., I don't want you chatting with this partner, or I don't want you actually hanging out with this partner alone. I have to be involved. And so that kind of boundaries is very important, especially when trust is involved. And another key thing to consider is also communication. Now, let's talk about communication. I think most of the issue arises when there is lack of transparency. For example, is your partner telling you about their opposite sex friend? Are they involving you in the group setting so you feel comfortable? Are they keeping the friendship hidden or low key from you? And I think this is what happens. Like, you want to be involved in this person's life as well as your partner, especially because one or the other may be having feelings. You never know. Sometimes they tend to hide this feeling. I used to have a friend that we were a long time ago, we were very close friends from high school, but I would notice that then I had a boyfriend, right? But I would notice that when it comes to, when the guys are chatting me at school, this guy is always very defensive and protective of me. It wasn't until we actually finished school after like many years after that this guy actually, was coming up with ways for me to actually break up with my boyfriend at that time. And then he eventually told me that he actually liked me. And I was very disappointed because seems like I was like, oh, so all this thing that you were acting protective of me and everything was more because you were interested in me, not because you were genuinely, acting from a place of friendship. So that friendship actually ended at that point because one, I wasn't feeling that. I just saw us as friends, not as going beyond that level, like going beyond that friend zone to like dating level. So that was not what I was looking for. And I didn't even see this person as someone that I would date. And it was disappointing for me to lose that friendship because I actually enjoyed that friendship. But it will never be the same again because this conversation has changed. So that's an example of you never know if that friend is, maybe likes you. And most of the time, I would tell you, I actually spoke to some guys about this particular topic, and they say men most of the time would have some hidden agenda when they are friends with you, especially if you're the opposite sex person. So yeah, so always put that in the back of your mind that guys would, you know, are just waiting, especially when you have a boyfriend, you have a husband already, just waiting for something to happen and then it can come in. That's always the case for most situations. And a lot of guys actually agree to this. So think about that when you are considering or considering this particular topic in your relationship. I think it's something that is important that you need to talk about from the beginning. And if the person that you're dating or pre-plan the future with is not on board with it, then you would be able to weigh that and ask yourself, is this the person I want to spend the rest of my life with? And that's just a way to actually filter the people that you don't want in your life. Yeah, so that's something that I feel like should be. Communication is key in that aspect. So that's where things can be tricky if the communication isn't there or transparency. So communication opens the door for trust and can help avoid any form of misunderstanding in the future. And that's what we're talking about. So another aspect you need to consider is addressing insecurities. So let's be real, past relationship or insecurities can actually play a huge role in how you feel about the topic. If you've had a negative experience like I did in the past, you might be more cautious about letting your partner get close with friends of the opposite sex. And that's actually true with me because of my past experience. But on the flip side, do those insecurities speak more into your personal fear? Yeah, that for sure, than your partner's behavior. It's important to check in with yourself and figure out where those feelings are really, really, really coming from. Self-awareness is key in this particular case. So at the end of the day, whether or not your partner can have the opposite sex as is a question, but healthy boundaries and communication helps makes it better. So, but if those areas are weak, it can definitely create misunderstanding or tension between you and your partner. So I'm throwing this question to you. What do you think about this particular question? Would you let your partner have the opposite sex as a best friend? So drop your comment at the comment section. So let's go to the next topic. Do you believe in 50-50 for finance in a relationship? So do you believe in 50 split in finance in your relationship? All right, now let's switch the gear to another topic that stirs up a lot of debate. I just told you the topic, right? Finance in relationship is one of the biggest issue in relationship, and for most of the divorce or breakup that we hear about or that we know, finance is always at the top. So, and I believe that is why this topic is important, because I feel like when you are dating, you want to talk to your potential spouse, or I would say the person you're actually dating at that time, about this topic. You don't want to go into the relationship shocked, and then the person is asking for this type of financial arrangement and you're like having issues, right? So it's very important to ask your partner. For example, for me, I grew up back home in Nigeria, and the men are responsible for majority of the responsibility in the home. And then I'm talking about finance in this aspect. So like my father was responsible for the school fees, because we pay school fees at our schools back home in Nigeria, and he would pay the house rent. He would even give my mom money for food, like groceries and stuff. So basically, my mom was also working, but our money was more like for herself, really. So she would buy other things, like maybe things that my father would not remember, or Christmas clothes, outing clothes, She could buy, she would say, I would say a lot of, let me focus more on Nigeria, for example. When they moved here, things changed. So when we moved to Canada, my mother started contributing to the finance in the home. So, for example, if my father would take care of the other things, my mother would, you know, contribute to like the groceries and the other little bills in the house. So, because here it's a bit different. Back home, you can actually live on one income because I think it's not very difficult as living here, but here, it is very difficult for a man to take the full responsibility of the home in terms of finance or bills, because it's going to drive this man crazy. So here, most of the women end up stepping in and supporting the man of working together with their partner in taking care of the home. So now, so for some people, it's only fair thing to do when they go 50-50, but it's only but other also argue that 50-50 split doesn't make sense, especially when one person is earning significantly more than the other person. So let's break this down. So when we talk about 50-50, for those of you that don't really understand what I'm talking about, we are literally talking about splitting every bills, or we're saying each other contribute equally in different ways. But today we're only focusing on the finance aspect here. One person might take on more house chores or emotional labor, while the other contributes more financially. But equal contribution don't always equal finances. But for me right now, on this particular episode, I'm talking about finances. On other episodes, we actually talk about other aspects like house chores and stuff like that. And I forgot to actually mention, when I talk about back home, my mom, although she was not, my father was taking a lot of responsibility, my mom was doing the other household chores, cooking and everything like that. So my father would go out, work hard, come home late, and my mom would ensure that the food is ready, the house is clean, and that stuff like that. So that way, it is more like partnership kind of situation, but because my father is more, it takes the leadership role in the home. He ensures that the family is have all that they need for my mother to actually multiply and make into something beautiful. So that is it. Now, there are instances where so that's mainly the case back home, and mostly, I would say, common to a lot of African countries back in Africa, in the continent of Africa. So now I want to look at income differences. Now let's talk about the income differences in the household. If one partner makes more money, it is really not fair to split the bills 50-50. Let's say one partner makes 100K a year and the other partner makes 50K a year. Is it realistic to expect the partner making less to pay the same amount towards rent, bills, and other expenses? I actually have a friend that, she makes less, like she probably makes about 30 to 40,000 less than the partner, but and also they basically he's also very involved in the house chores and things around the house, so they kind of work together in that aspect. But she makes 50K, let's say 50K, and he makes about, like, let's say 90 to 100K. But this guy expects them to share everything, even up to groceries. Like, they will go to the store, and if the bill is like $200, they would actually ask the cashier to split the bill into $100 each. So they split everything like equally. If the guy has to take a car or borrow a car to go buy groceries or do anything, he needs to ensure that he fills the tank to the level at which she left it. So, and I remember there was a particular time that they had a 3-bedroom house that they were renting, and there was one extra bedroom that this guy was actually storing all his CDs that he was collecting at that particular time. And she was so upset that why should I be paying equal rent with this person when he has an extra room that he's using for his own personal things? So for me, I was like, there's so much tension in this relationship. But I also see that they're always kissing and loving on each other. So I can't really say if they're having problem, but based on where I come from, it will be an issue for me. But I felt like it wasn't fair. And one thing I noticed about them was, if let's say they needed to go to a vacation, they would have to share the bills into like equally. If the woman is not able to afford that trip, he would go to that trip by himself. That I find very interesting. Like, he would actually go without her because she cannot afford it. I don't know if that's love though, but it works for them. So that's an example. But I feel like for me, my opinion is not fair. It's not fair. I feel like the person making more, if you're making more, then maybe you could do 60-40, 70-30. So, yeah, I feel like that is what is fair. But you know what? That works for them. So it's like a lot of couples these days are moving towards proportional contribution. You both put in what you have based on your income, so it feels fair without putting financial strain on either person. That's what I think is fair. But if you're doing like the example I just gave you, I feel like that is not fair. So we also look at personal culture and influences, like I told you back home, how we actually do things. Like I said, some culture expect the man to take on most of the financial responsibility, like I said, like my father did, while other values equal partnership where both contribute equally. And most of these lifestyle we see here in Canada, US, or European country, that's what they do most of the time. It's important to recognize that there is no right or wrong way to handle finances in relationship. It's about what works for you. Like I always said back home, this way of a man taking all the financial responsibility actually worked. But when we moved here, it changed, because this society, or this environment does not makes it very difficult to live that lifestyle where the man takes all the responsibility. Here, both person in the household need to work to support the home. So, like I said, it's very important to consider that, to consider the culture and also the environment that you're living in, because that would influence how you guys work around finances. So, and like it said, it all also depends on the different people. What works for you? There are situations where the woman would work and the man would actually take care of the home because maybe that's what he's good at. So, at the end of the day, it is what works. Like, if your wife makes more money than your husband, then the wife gives more, and then the husband might probably support her with the house chores. So, it is what works for you guys. It is what works for you. So, I'm not saying the example I gave with my friend is wrong. Like, it's not wrong for them because it is working and they are loving on each other. So I may frown at it, but because that's not my own situation. But yeah, for whatever works for you. I don't want you going home and start having issues with your husband and asking him, why are you not doing this? Listen, if it's been working for you, keep working. And if it's not working for you like that, see how you can adjust and make it fair. And I think that's all. Just ensure that you work correctly with your partner. And also, if you're dating, is an opportunity to actually ask yourself, this is what I actually want for my future? Is this what I want for my man in my future? Is this what I want for my lady in my future? So you kind of think about it like that and make decisions. So if you're married, then you guys can figure it out, come up with something fair, and work through it. So I feel like there's always ways around it. So, like I said, I believe that 50-50 is personal, and I think it's more about balance. If both parties are contributing to the relationship, whether financially, emotionally, or throughout just duty, that's what matters. What matters is what works for the family, what works for the relationship. But what about you? Do you believe in splitting 50-50 when it comes to finance, or do you prefer a different proportion or a different approach? So drop your thought in the comment section. I want us to talk about this because I feel like this is an odd topic and I want to hear what you think. So thank you for joining me today. We've covered some thought-provoking topics, and I'm hoping that this sparks some new ideas and perspective for you. So, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to hit the thumb up button, hit that subscribe button as well, and bring notification bell so that you do not miss any of my video. Usually I post videos every week, and I can't wait to hear what you think about these particular topics. Remember, there are two topics, so let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, remember, communication, trust, and balance are key to success in relationships. So see you next time. Thank you for joining me. Bye for now.